recorded live from Studio 12A in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. You're listening to the Josh and Friends Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Josh and Friends Podcast. I am your host. My name is Josh, and this week I have a very special guest. It's someone I've known since, well, the very beginning of my existence on this planet. He's someone who's responsible for teaching me many of life's most valuable skills. He taught me how to throw a football and how to drive a car. He took me on camping and fishing trips and tubing down the river. Taught me how to properly thread a reel-to-reel tape recorder. What, you don't know what a reel-to-reel is? Really? Don't worry about it. It's not making a comeback anytime soon. But he also introduced me to some of the greatest music ever made, like the Beatles, the Stones, and Led Zeppelin. And he was also the guy who always told me to respect others, but to never let anyone push you around. So it is my pleasure to welcome to the show the one who was always there for my brother and I growing up, the man with the golden voice, and the owner of one of the greatest mustaches the world has ever known, the Marine, the Vietnam vet, my dad, Mr. Lee Matlock. All right, Dad. Good to have you on the show. How you doing?
Glad to be here.
The famous Leland C. Matlock. Oh, how the tables have turned. So now you're on my show. What do you think of the studio?
It's awesome.
You like it?
Yeah.
You remember when Neil and I came in and we did some radio station liners?
Shotguns.
Yeah, the old promos for the old radio station. We couldn't stop messing around, and you were like frustrated because the radio process was a lot different as far as like editing and recording. And was that on a reel to reel that we were recording those?
Yeah, there was a lot of editing with you and Neil. Yeah.
And then when we finally got it going, we're finally rolling. You're like, okay, are you guys ready? Are you guys gonna be serious this time? And we're like, yes. And then he's like, all right. Hi, I'm Fred, and I'm Barney. And you're like, God damn. Like, it was so funny. Like, but it was kind of like Howard Stern in the Howard Stern Private Parts movie when he's like, don't be stupid, you moron. But anyway. So yeah, I wanted to start the show off by saying that you are, I guess, 100% responsible for me getting into radio and music, and most of my memories growing up involve a soundtrack of some sort, and that's definitely because of you. And I just want to start from the beginning. So unlike Mom's upbringing, yours is kind of like a little bit more chaotic.
Yeah, it's a little different, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the guy that was go into the new school and go straight to the back, and when the yearbooks came out, my picture wasn't there, but my name was.
How's that?
Well, they would pack up and move somewhere.
Oh, okay, yeah, because you moved.
Yeah.
You moved all over. So what what states did you live in? Like, was it pretty much everywhere on the west side of
Pretty much, yeah. We were Washington and Oregon and Idaho and
Nevada,
California and Nevada.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Wow.
I went to, somewhere around 15, 16 schools in my 12-year school life.
How many?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 15, 16.
15 schools?
Yeah.
Wow. Yikes. And your dad, Jim, now he had some interesting jobs. He did all these jobs that like really don't exist anymore. Like, was he like a handyman, kind of like repairing sewing machines and typewriters and stuff like that? You said
Well, I wouldn't call him a handyman, but he was, he was in sales of sewing machines, mostly Singer and Bernina and Pfaff and all these sewing machines. He could fix them all.
Yeah.
But, it came to a point, in fact, he asked me, he said, do you want to learn the sewing machine business, son?
Yeah.
And I thought, no. And he got out of the biz, and then, of course, the biz changed to computer sewing machines.
Oh, right.
Which would have left me nowhere.
Yeah.
Because he would have taught me how to fix mechanical sewing
Right.
machines and not computer sewing machines. So that was a dumb thing for me to even think about doing.
But he also had like some cool, interesting jobs. Like you said he was like a stunt double in Hollywood.
Yeah, he did a couple of shots for a guy in this movie called The Tanks Are Coming. Rolled across the road while they shot live ammunition at him.
Was that like the early 50s or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. He was a professional golfer.
That's pretty cool.
Not on the tour, but,
Right.
we had our own golf course. And, of course, we, as kids, could go out on the golf course anytime we wanted to and play golf. And, after you moved the water pipe and mowed the greens and mowed the fairways and cut the rough and, after the work was done, we could go play. So
Right. And he's also cousins with legendary actor James Dean.
that's my mom.
Oh, it's your mom?
That's my
okay.
mom. Something like fifth cousin or
That's awesome.
something like
Hey,
that.
hey, you're taken away from it, but yeah. And then Greta, your mom, didn't you say that she worked at the Sahara or something like that as a waitress or something like that?
She worked
in Vegas.
a lot of hotels at the Strip, and she'd never worked downtown, but just the Strip. And she was a change girl, that runs around and gives you change
Right.
to play your coin slot machines, which they don't really do anymore.
Right.
And then she would work her way up into the cage where you come and cash your chips in, and she'd hand you back $100,000 or whatever. And so, those kinds of jobs. She worked for Motorola for a while, putting the little parts into whatever Motorola was making that month. And,
Right.
So, but mostly she just liked to stay home and not work.
Right. Now, you went to high school in Phoenix.
One of many.
Yeah. Well, which high school did you go to?
In Phoenix?
Yeah.
Cortez.
Cortez, and that's where Alice Cooper went, right?
Yeah.
You actually
Vince
went to
Fournier.
Yeah, and you went to school with him, right? I mean, like, he was like a little older than you.
He was, I think, 2 years ahead of me. My cousin Jim was in the same classes with him.
Oh, really?
And yeah, so.
Were there any stories that he had? Was he kind of strange back then? Did he?
Well, he'd
dress
just
kinda like...
slide along the side of the wall, all the way down and carrying his books, and didn't talk to many people. And the first guy in school to have long hair, really.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
He was a little different. We'd kind of look at him like, that guy's crazy.
That's awesome. And he was in a band, I guess, in high school. I don't know what the name of the band was, but he was in a band there. But yeah, so I always think that's a kind of an interesting story. It's like,
Right.
the weird guy.
Yeah.
So walking down the hall is oh, that's Alice Cooper now. Okay.
Yeah. I went to high school in Idaho. Bora High School. I went to high school in California, Crawford High School. I went to high school in Prineville, Oregon.
Good Lord.
There's got to be another one or two, but yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, because my mom and dad, they were obviously separated, divorced.
Yeah.
And she lived in one part of the country, he lived in the other. And by the time I got into school, one of them would move. And then, when they were going to send me back to live with my mom, of course, she was in a different town. And when she'd send me back to my dad to live for the summer or whatever, he was in a different town. And this went on and on and on, So.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was, but, when I ask people where they're from and they tell me, I can generally chum up with them,
Where were you when you had that near-death experience? I'm always amazed that you actually survived this because I've seen the pictures, of the famous camper story. Was it one of those old Airstream campers, or what was that?
No, it was actually, if you ever see these giant campers on pickups that have the caveman with a club.
Oh, okay.
It's caveman camper.
Gotcha. Okay.
Big camper.
Right.
Yeah.
What was it? Just you in the camper, or what?
No,
was
I had
this?
a friend. His name was Steve Dare. He was a disc jockey at KGEM in Boise.
Okay.
And I don't remember exactly how we met, but I think it was over a pool game.
Yeah.
Because I was playing a lot of pool, and he, took a liking to me, and we started hunting together. And
Right.
driving over to like Nampa, Idaho, and play pool, and just carrying on.
Yeah.
So we decided we were going to go steelhead fishing up at the Salmon River up, where was it? Salmon, Idaho, and just on the way up, we were hitting black ice, sliding around and doing this and that.
Right.
And we finally got up there, and when we got up there, the Salmon River was full of icebergs. They were just going down. So we thought, well, you can't put a fishing line in ice, so.
Right.
Especially when it's floating.
Yeah.
And so we decided to just turn around and come back, and we came back to Boise. Mm-hmm. And it was about, 2 a.m, something, way too late to wake anybody up. So we pulled outside of my aunt's house and just parked there and lit. Now, I hope the audience doesn't think I'm really stupid, but this was really stupid. Steve lit all the burners on the stove and the oven, but he didn't open any vents.
Oh.
So we're in there and
Yeah.
we're sleeping, and we're in the top of the camper.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about gas, it's heavier than air, so it's going from the floor up.
Right.
So when it gets up to about waist deep or to the top of the stove, the fire goes out because it has no oxygen.
Gotcha.
Right. So I smoked at that time, naturally, and
At that time, have you stopped since, or?
no.
And how old are you
Naturally, I still smoke. And
now? And how old were you then when this happened?
17.
17, and okay, and now you're what are you 70 now? Or?
69.
69.
Yeah.
Okay, you're almost 70. Yeah.
So I got up, looked at the stoves, and I said, "Wow, man!" I said, "The fire's out." And he said, "Well, turn the gas off." So I turned all the gas off.
Yeah.
And then immediately turned around to the kitchen table in the camper, picked up my cigarettes, my matches, tried to strike a match, but the gas was like up to my chest.
Oh, Jesus.
So it had no oxygen. Couldn't light the match.
Whoa.
So I had to go to the bathroom real bad. So I opened the back door and went out and went to the bathroom and came back. And of course, it had some oxygen. So I picked up the matches again and lit it.
Yeah.
That was about, I don't know, curtains were up at the top of the trees, and there was a lot of things.
Just a huge explosion.
Just a huge explosion.
And I've seen the pictures of this. It's like wait, there was
the
like
sides off of the camper.
So wait, at this time was your buddy in there too?
Yeah, he was in bed.
Okay, so he was like
up
low.
on top in
okay.
bed. Yeah.
Okay, so did he get injured? I mean,
Stood him straight up in bed. Just sucked him right straight up.
Whoa.
And he was standing on the bed.
Wow.
Going, what the hell was that? And
Yeah.
he was in shock. I was in shock.
Yeah.
We were all in shock. But I was burned, from my wrists up.
The pictures are insane.
Or excuse me, from my wrist down.
Yeah.
Because I had on a long sleeve flannel shirt. So both hands got burned in my face, and it blew up under my shirt in my back. It got burned in my stomach, because the flannel shirt, of course.
Yeah.
And I did have a nylon jacket in the closet.
Oh my God.
That I was thinking about putting on when I went to bed, but I decided
that would have been a part of your
against
body.
it. Yeah, that would have been. That's what the doctor said.
Yeah. And then you said, as a result, it pretty much melted your skin and stuff, right? So and you said that you had trouble when you try to grow a full beard, later in life, it kind of go spotty.
Yeah,
and
I don't have hair on
wild.
my legs anymore, and
that's nuts. So that was you were 17 at that point. Now, after high school, this is crazy. I always tell people this. I always try to wrap my head around it. Maybe it's because you were so, just all over the place, moving all over all the time. I don't know. At the height of the Vietnam War, 1968, 69, the highest amount of casualties in the war. You were not drafted, but you decide to volunteer and join the United States Marine Corps. And that's pretty hardcore, man. That's pretty hardcore. You entered boot camp in what, 1969? Is that right?
Right here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, really? Okay. So that's pretty wild. So what was your motivation for this? I mean, obviously, besides being a true American badass, what was the reasoning behind joining the military?
Well, first off, I was around too many women. I had my mother, my two sisters. I'm living around a bunch of women, and no father figure around. So, and of course, I got broke up with my girlfriend, and so didn't have a job. Hadn't graduated from high school yet because of my burns, and I missed the last half of my senior year. So I thought, I could dig these ditches in Phoenix, which was not a fun job.
Sounds pretty horrible.
Or I can do something else.
Yeah.
And I had a friend that lived here that had joined the Marine Corps a couple of years before me, whom I just saw yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right on.
And he had been there and back, and I just got to talking to him, and I said, well, that sounds okay to me. So,
yeah.
But I really wanted to join I wanted to kind of follow in my dad's footsteps, so I went down and tried to join the Navy.
It's like the Forrest Gump. He's like, my dad's dad,
Yeah,
his
yeah.
dad's dad.
Right. So I wanted to go in the Navy just to make my dad proud.
Right.
Well, they wouldn't take me because I hadn't graduated from high school. Picky.
Wow.
Picky. Okay.
Yeah.
They said, if you go next door, they'll take you. like you can't breathe, right?
Yeah.
Okay, they'll take you over there.
Right.
And that's what I did. I went over next door, and how bad could it be, So I joined the Marine Corps, and it was pretty bad.
Oh, God. Jesus.
The boot camp.
Now, what countries did you end up going to? I think did you say you're in Laos? You visited other countries, obviously. Like
we were just bombing Laos.
Yeah.
But nobody knows.
Oh.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah, the first place they sent me after I got out of school, which was in Quantico, Virginia, and the guy was a friend of mine that worked in the office that writes the orders, said we have 2 billets. One's in Quantico and one's in Barstow, California. So I said, I'm a West Coast guy.
Yeah.
I said, my mom lives in Phoenix. What am I going to do in Quantico? So I gave him $20 and he gave me the orders to Barstow. So I'm out there probably, I think, 18 months in Barstow.
Oh, okay.
And I thought the Marines forgot about me.
Right.
I'm on the high desert. The wind blows 8 days a week. It's just a horrible place. And I kept requesting Westpac orders, which means the Western Pacific, which means Vietnam. Okay. And after 18 months, they finally granted it, and they sent me to Japan.
Oh, okay.
So now I'm with a totally not my military occupational specialty. They sent me to intelligence, which is a, oxymoron, military intelligence. So, so then I went from Japan to the Philippines, and then Guam, and then Vietnam.
Gotcha.
And then on the turnaround, I went back to Japan, and then Camp Pendleton.
Now, explain a little bit like what you did when you were over there. What was your job there?
I started as an engineer in Quantico. That's what you think you're going to do, but no, you don't do that. They sent me to intelligence, and what I did basically was stay on a couple of radios all the time with the combat. The guys that were in the combat zone sending me messages of what they saw, where they saw it, and what the coordinates were. So I would take a thing, go up to a map, with a big map. I'd check these things, put them where they are on the map, give the coordinates. The warrant officer came in, grabbed it, goes into the pilot's room, and tells the pilots where the targets are.
Gotcha.
So I'm like
wow.
I'm like the middleman for the combat troops in the when they called in, and close air support if they needed it, that sort of thing. So I was with the 1st Marine Air Wing, and
did you guys ever get like close calls as far as strikes to your guys' facility or anything like that?
Were they shooting at us?
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. They have 122 rockets and 81 millimeter mortars, and they were always shooting them onto the base, trying to hit the airplane.
Jesus.
So they were trying to kill you.
Yeah.
So I spent all that time trying to get there, and then after about 5 days, I was trying to figure out how to get out of there.
Great. Now, just backing up a little bit, you always would talk about how that movie Full Metal Jacket and how realistic that was with was it Lee Ermey as the drill sergeant? Is that pretty close as far as how that was?
Of all the Marine movies that I've ever seen, and I've seen pretty much all of them.
Right.
That if you watch the first part of Full Metal Jacket in boot camp, it still makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck. It's the closest you'll ever get to knowing what Marine Corps boot camp's like.
Well, isn't the story too that they brought him in as a kind of like a consultant on that movie, and then they're like, he just kept going, no, and they're like, what are we doing? Why don't we just have you do this?
Yeah.
And like he was actually a drill sergeant, right?
He was a drill instructor. Yeah.
That's so crazy, man.
And he basically ad-libbed a lot of things.
Yeah.
A lot of the cliches that were used in that movie, of course, they all use them.
Yeah.
You know, like choke yourself and, you know,
so crazy.
What's this in your locker? Food, you know, and if you had food in your locker, everybody else paid for it. So that makes you nervous because they just paid for your mistake. So,
did you ever see anybody lose their shit like that one guy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Several.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, not like
right.
he did,
yeah,
but I saw an ambulance outside of our barracks a lot.
And then back in the day, they can fucking hit you and shit.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
So Jesus.
Yeah.
These war movies, they're so different too. Like, I mean, they're drastically different, you know, in that, going back to the Forrest Gump one, there's scenes in that were obviously pretty bad, but when they're coming in that scene where we're flying in, when they're playing like, Fortunate Son or whatever. And then they land and then they're having like the barbecue and they're all like drinking stuff. He's like, I thought it was a lot different than this. Yeah. I was getting a kick out of that. Did you guys ever have any like fun? You know, cause you'd have different things that you do over there.
Yeah,
right?
You know, you couldn't really go anywhere. It was a little dangerous to get off the base and go anywhere because you don't know who's the enemy when you're in town.
Yeah.
I was about 40 miles from Saigon, and you could go there, but it wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, and anywhere outside the wire could be dangerous. So,
go rogue like
So
like
we made
Robin
our own.
Williams.
We made our own fun. We had our little hooches that we were in, and some guys, you would make bars.
Yeah.
Literal bars you could walk into and drink and fight or whatever you wanted to do, you know.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And
fight.
And we played a lot of cards.
It's like
know?
Fight Club in there.
Yeah.
Like
and the military pays you military payment certificates. They look like funny money, like Monopoly money kind of, and they did that because they didn't want, you see, greenback, our money, U.S. money, was a big deal over there in the black market. If they could get greenback money, they could buy anything anywhere. So they paid us in, you know, this crap currency.
Weird.
And you know, it was like not having money really.
Right.
But it bought things, you know.
Huh. Interesting. After you get done with the service, it's funny because I've seen a lot of these pictures of you post-war, and it's kind of like you almost went like a full-on like hippie with the long hair, mustache, the African dashiki tops, and like the protest music. There's one awesome picture of you like standing in front of this hippie van, like these bell bottoms and stuff. A lot of the guys like from Vietnam kind of like did the kind of like the opposite. There's like the guys that maintained their crew cuts and stuff like that. And then there's the other guys, kind of like, I'm going to listen to some Crosby, Stills, and Nash and like that stuff. So like when you came home, did you ever get any backlash?
You know, I blended in.
Is it one of those things where like you go over there, you have a job to do. So you're doing your job. But then also the like watching that Vietnam documentary, I've seen it a couple times now. It's fantastic. Because it shows every side of, they show like 4 different sides of everything that's going on. And it's like so fascinating to me because, you know, the guys that are over there, they're over there because they either enlisted, they got drafted, they're in the war. So like they're over there doing their thing. Now, the politicians, they're doing other shit. And like when you get back and you find out these guys have been like fucking lying and just sending people over there to die and stuff like that. Now, is that like kind of like your mentality as far as like, because you're so into the music and the protest scene, but you're also, you know, you're a veteran, so it's like I'm just trying to
war is
figure
big
out
business.
Yeah, it's
very good business.
And that one was just a messed up war, man.
And you think you're going to go over and protect your country, but you know, in all realism, it's not what you do over there. It's you don't even think about protecting the United States. You think about protecting the people that you're serving with.
Yeah.
The pilots, your brothers, everybody.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's heavy, man. Like that's a yeah. So it's a crazy thing. Like, I mean, the old cliche statement is like, you know, in war, nobody really wins, you know, like especially that kind of war. Jesus.
So when I came back and I was just for some reason tired of people owning me and telling me where I had to go and what I had to do.
Yeah.
my hair wasn't cut right, my shoes weren't shined correctly, or whatever, you know, which, you know, I can't really say they ever said that to me because my hair was cut right and my shoes were shined. But I just got tired of that kind of life, you know, where you say that there's guys that, you know, stayed, kept doing it. But it was a good racket for certain people. Like if you weren't married, it was a great racket.
Yeah.
If you were married, you probably wouldn't stay married.
Yeah.
So
the divorce rate in
it was,
military is just
50%.
Oh,
you know, so
it's way higher than that.
Yeah, well, now. But I got out. Actually, a little joke I like to tell is that the first sergeant called me in to try to get me re-signed and said, "So, Matlock, what are you going to do now?" And he said, "Do you want to re-enlist or what?" And I said, "Well, I tell you, First Sergeant, when I get out, I'm going to go to work for my brother." He said, "Really? What's your brother doing?" I said, "He's looking for a job." So I think he got the word that.
Oh, God, that's funny.
You know, yeah, so.
So after you got done with the military, you come back to Phoenix or?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I want to know how, I mean, I know the story, I heard it from Mom, but I want to hear how your version is or differs. Where were you when you ran into Mom?
Met Mom on a blind date. I was a pool player most of the time with my friend Marty, and his girlfriend had a girlfriend from Wisconsin that she had invited out.
Did you see any pictures of her prior or?
One.
Oh, you did?
Just
okay.
one, yeah.
And
yeah.
You always described Mom as like a fox, like a stone cold fox.
Yeah, she was. She had hair down to her thighs and you know.
And she says the same about you as well. So like you were like a muscular stud, you know, Vietnam military guy, you know.
Yeah, we were all young once. Yeah.
And Mom's told me that she liked Arizona and everything. But when she came down here, she originally came down here to visit, right?
Yeah, they were, you know, just like all girls from small towns, they were going to travel.
Right.
So Phoenix was her first and last stop.
Gotcha. Well, so when you met Mom, then you decide to move up to Washington? What was the decision?
Well, the reason I moved to Washington, my dad had moved up there, and I've always been a fisherman, hunter. You know, I love the outdoors. I love pine trees and mountains and you know, things, and that came when I was younger in Oregon. But you know, now I just the heat here just drove me bonkers.
And this is one of the things that I always like to bring up too. I'm like, hey, you know what? I kind of get it. Like, if you're from or lived in this area, and this is like, we're talking the early 70s, air conditioning, it's come a long way since then. I mean, you walk into places now and people are wearing coats. I mean, it gets ice.
Everybody
cold.
had a swamp cooler.
Yes, the swamp coolers, those are garbage. Those are garbage.
And that's the way this whole place was. It was just swamp cooler after swamp cooler.
Right.
So,
and it's also funny because you bring up fishing. I remember I don't know, it had to be, 15 years ago, you busted out all these like clippings of the rivers and talking about like the rivers with different types of fish in it. And you're like, well, this one's like highly rated for steelhead. And you had these clippings and they were from like the 70s or like something. And I was like, holy crap. You really were planning on, I don't know. And then you said, Mom always said that she was the one that kind of wanted to, she could have waited to have kids and stuff like that. And you kind of like said, hey, I want to have kids. I want to be young and have kids. I want to enjoy my kids. Like,
I'm like 23 years old and I think I'm over the hill already. So when we moved, when we came up here, it wasn't where I'm at now, but we moved to where you were born, Centralia. And, just one day she comes out and says, pregnant. And that happened to be you. And then, but we both wanted to wait about 5 years to do it again.
Gotcha. Okay.
So then we got your brother.
And then she, as she mentioned before, she was like, she went down to visit her friend and got like some baby fever. And then Andy comes up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it was still, I didn't have a very good job. I was working at a sawmill, and she was a hostess at a little hotel, and we're both making like no money. And, that's kind of the first time I got started with, I said this mill work is terrible. It's like, you want to move up in the mill, but the head sawyer is like 25. So, you
Jesus.
figure you got a long time to wait. So I wanted to look for something else, and I just got a job in the mall there with DJ Sound City, which was a record and tape outlet.
Right.
One of 26, who was owned by a couple of guys up here in Seattle. And
So they don't make the records there. They just they get shipped in and then they distribute them.
it's a store.
Right?
Yeah, they sell them. Right.
Oh, okay.
And then after we did well for such a period of time, they bought their own record warehouse.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
So now we have a 50,000-foot record warehouse
And
full
this
of
is
every record
what year,
ever.
What year are we talking here? Like the mid 70s?
73, 4.
Okay.
74.
Okay. So this is like it's big time for the music industry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you've mentioned too before, like some of the albums that we're moving through. Like you said, there was just so many like crates of like certain albums.
Saturday Night Fever. What's the?
You said Breakfast in America was one of them.
Exactly.
What about Rumors?
Yeah,
a lot of
Fleetwood
Rumors.
Mac was,
Huge.
people were they couldn't wait for them to come
Right.
out, just like, Beatle albums in
Yeah.
their day. It's like
Yeah.
people would just sit there and couldn't wait for them to come out with it. And
Well,
they didn't even know if it was going to be any good. And
Yeah.
they bought it,
Well, yeah, they were good albums. I mean,
Yeah.
and it was big business.
Yeah.
How long were you there? How long did you work at the?
Well, I worked at the record store, I don't know, about a year and a half, I
Yeah.
guess. And then they said, why don't you come up and work in the warehouse do new releases.
Yeah.
So what that means is that I would wait by the doors for the trucks to pull in and drop these pallets off of those records we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Then I would make sure that all 26 stores had their allotment of those albums. And then I had a friend that was the return guy, so all the
It's kind of a fun
defects,
job. Like, I mean,
Oh,
it's
it's
kind
aw-
of,
yeah.
And then you said you had perks of that job where like, Rockstars would come
Sure,
in and
sure.
and then you get to like, meet them
Yeah.
and like who's some of the people that you got to meet back in the day? I think I remember you saying that you got to meet Nicolette Larson and like Johnny Paycheck.
Yeah, Nicolette was great. She died, and it was kind of crushing. But
Jesus.
because we sat in a booth together, and she signed my,
Yeah.
the big poster that come in her
Right.
album and all that. And we were talking, and
And the Hart sisters and
yeah, we met Hart because they were underlining Head East.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Head East, and then the Rascals. We
Nice.
met, the lead singer there. What's his face?
I could see his face. The guy with the beard or the skinny? Okay.
Yeah, with smoked a pipe. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I know exactly.
Sings
what you're
a
talking
beautiful morning.
Yeah. He's awesome. Okay, now, since we're talking about music, who's the first band that you ever saw live? Do you remember that?
Blues Image,
Blues Image.
and then they were underlining for
Iron
Iron
Butterfly.
Butterfly.
Okay, I think I remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
How was that show?
For me, it was everything
Awesome.
because I'd played drums since I was in second grade till senior year in high school.
Jeez,
till
what
they,
year would that be like?
till they kicked me out.
You got kicked out of a
Yeah.
band?
Yeah, I was in a concert band, and the band teacher didn't like me ad-libbing the drum music
Yeah.
because if you've ever played drums in a concert band, you have to read the music, and at about every fourth bar you get to go dun 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 or something,
Yeah.
just something
Right.
that was horrible. And so if you start doing a little rolling cymbal or something, they go crazy. So can't play Manifest Destiny if you've got a drummer that doesn't want to stick with the music.
No, you said I'm always like fascinated by this story. You got to tell the Tom Petty story. You said you and Mom went to a Tom Petty show, and it was like really strange. You said
Very crazy show.
But where was that show? Was that in
It's
Seattle?
at the Paramount.
That was at the Paramount in Seattle? Okay. And then you said, you guys were talking about this in great detail last time I was here. I hadn't even heard this story, but you said, I don't know how many songs. He was just sitting there behind a curtain.
Of course, we're at the Paramount. It's
Yeah.
just me and a bunch of people from the record business.
Okay, yeah.
The salesman from Warner Brothers or ABC Records or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of us. There was probably 30 of us. And they said, go over next to the Paramount, stand in the alley right there and wait. And we'll tell you what to do. Because there was an after show or party and we knew it. So we're going to go to this after party with Tom Petty. So
Nice.
Yeah, that's what we thought. And so this guy comes up and he starts pushing us and shoving us physically down the alley.
The hell?
There's 2 or 3 of them.
Down the alley. Okay,
Down the
so
alley.
like so in the back
deeper into the alley.
So in the back of the Paramount, like not the side of the street, but
well, if you're
like,
looking at the Paramount, it's
Yeah.
that alley on the right.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So and there's nothing down there but old wood, decrepit buildings.
Okay.
So we got, okay, so here we go, and so we get down there, and then all of a sudden, I think there was 3 cars. They looked like 1930 gangster cars, right? And out of the cars came these guys with machine guns.
You guys like, what the hell's going on?
And the hat.
Yeah, it looks like Al Capone.
Looked like my dad when
right,
he was,
Your dad looked awesome.
Yeah, and so they start yelling at us, and then they start shooting their guns in the air, and they said, "Get up that staircase." So we go into this building, and this staircase, you don't trust it. That's how old it is.
Oh,
right?
God.
So there we are. We're just full on this staircase going up to the top of this building.
Do you guys know like what the hell's going on?
We have no idea. In fact, we're starting to get a little irritated with these guys,
Right.
So we go in and we're inside this building, and there's nothing in there. There's no furniture, there's no nothing, just a long wood floor and a fireplace.
What?
And then we stand around for about 5 or 10 minutes. Like, does anybody know what's going on?
You guys are like being held hostage by some weird
that's what we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, these girls that look like they're straight from A&W come in with trays of food and on roller skates.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
The gangsters are still there.
Okay. The gangster.
Yeah. And so they come rolling in, going towards the fireplace, putting stuff down. There was garbage cans full of beer, and it wasn't a fancy feast. It was cheese and crackers and beer and all this kind of stuff. And so we were like, "Where's Tom? Where's Tom?" And nobody's seen him, and nobody knows where he is. Then, if this isn't weird enough, a bunch of cowboys ran in through the door and shot the gangsters.
This is a pretty
elaborate,
crazy.
huh?
Yeah, like
it was crazy.
Weird.
So Mom and I, we waited.
What year is this, by the way? Is this the late 70s or?
Gotta be 76.
It was the Damned. So 79. Okay, so it was like 79 tour.
Yeah.
I guess.
So Mom and I are looking at each other, going like, "Okay, this is just about enough of the weirdness. If we don't see Tom in the next 15 minutes,
right?
We're out of here."
You guys bailed. Did you guys leave?
We left.
You guys
never saw him.
What the hell? You could. Did anybody else leave?
Yeah,
or?
There's some people that I did talk to later that said, in about half hour he showed up.
Oh.
So I figured, he was probably exhausted from doing the concert and everything. But anyway, when we were speaking of the concert, he comes. They started playing Little Refugee.
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah, and all they had was a spotlight about the size of his head.
Yeah.
And it's totally dark. The band, you can't even see them.
Right.
But anyway, they start playing, and he comes out of the side, and the spotlight hits his face, and he's bent over, creeping along, and then he starts in with Refugee.
Right.
So
that's awesome.
it was a great concert. It was really good, but we just
they were awesome live, man.
But the party, not so great. But
that's funny, man.
But we had fun.
That's a weird thing, man. I've never even heard anybody.
Well, those record people in those days too, they did have some elaborate parties. We went up the top of some fancy hotel in Seattle, and I think ABC was throwing it, and you got an open bar and everything. It was just awesome.
That's awesome. It was funny because I always tell people, I go, when because I went to school for kind of like video production and television news and kind of and things like that, but I started getting into radio kind of towards the end of my schooling, and I was always working at the radio station. So when I did my internship, I did 2 internships. I did one at a video production plant, and then I did one at the radio station. I only did the radio station one day a week, and I'm like, well, let me see here. I'm sitting in an office, and this is boring as hell. Or on Fridays, one of my jobs was to go get beer for the party that is Friday. Everyone's like, woo! Everyone's like crazy, and I'm like, hey, we want you to go do a meet and greet with this rock star over here, and I'm like, well, my video days are pretty much done. Like, all right, see ya. No, it's just radio's so fun, man. Like,
one of the funnest parts is basically I knew, pretty much all the salesmen for the labels, Warner Brothers, and they're all our age, One of the guys, in fact, I was telling you, the guy that did the returns in the warehouse that I worked at finally got a job with Warner Brothers, which is where he wanted to be. He wanted to be in L.A.,
one of the big record labels
where things would open up for him. So he gets this job, and he says, he does it, I don't know, I didn't see him for about, 6 or 8 months, but he's working for Warner Brothers. I said, so what are you doing, Jamie? He goes, nothing but airports, like the NBA, right?
Right.
3-piece suits, nothing but airports.
It's like that movie Up in the Air, where he's just like literally just flying around.
Yeah, and he's going to these places and selling records.
Wow.
But he said it just gets to you. He was making a 6-figure salary. He was making $100,000 a year.
Jesus.
But he said, I can't keep up. I can't keep doing this.
Yeah, that'd be more fun.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that's the kind of. You'd want to be like the other side where you're like, okay, they come to you and then you have the parties. Yeah.
That's the way the two guys that own DJs did.
Yeah, right, exactly.
The salesman came into their office. They said, yay or nay. They said, you need 500 copies of this. They go, we'll take 150. We'll be the guys that make the decision on how many records we can sell of your crap,
That's crazy.
Yeah, the record business has really changed a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like it was so much more fun, man. Gosh.
Yeah,
and even like when I worked there, it was pretty much corporate.
You probably have more
radio.
records than any store I've ever seen lately. So
I'm getting a pretty fair collection now going. But, so growing up, I just remember you and Mom were always pretty involved with us, a lot more than other people. You're taking us fishing trips, camping, rafting on the river. You're even coaching, like, the coaching days. And
what I call bumblebee soccer.
That was hilarious. You were coaching like Andy's. Was it Andy's team?
Yeah.
So like little brother Andy, and I think there's video of this. It's hilarious. Like everyone's kind of there's like 2 people that are playing the game, and then the rest of the team is like there's girls like picking dandelions on the ground.
They were 5 and 6 years old.
People like walking around like it was so hilarious, and you're just like Jesus, I can't.
They'd be kicking the ball down the field, and then all of a sudden they see a butterfly, they stop and go start chasing the butterfly.
Oh, it's so hilarious.
Yeah.
It's funny. One of these early memories that I have of you is taking me golfing. Like you're still like pretty big into golfing, and I had zero interest in golf. I pretty much still don't have any interest in golf, but like I just remember you would take me there, and I loved that you would let me drive the golf cart, and you buy me a Coke and a hot dog, and
that is always the best fun for a kid.
Yeah. So yeah, like I drive the golf cart around, and then there's this one time where, I mean, I'm sure you remember this. I go, I'm gonna take the golf cart for a stroll, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'll be right back. And so I'm driving it around. I'm like, oh, this is so awesome. I'm like an adult. I'm like driving a car around, I'm like, and then I go, you know what? I'm gonna go around that little pond over there, and I go over there, and I'm like, I'm going around this pond, but it's not really a place that you're supposed to drive a golf cart because there's no trail. So here I am, and the golf cart almost flips over into the pond, and it's like sideways, and I'm like, uh-oh, I can't go forward, and this thing's about to tip into the pond. So I had to run and go get you, and then you're like, what the hell? And you just had to back it out. But I was like, oops. Yeah,
push it out, back it out.
Take this out for a stroll. But some of my earliest memories of going to games is going to Mariner games and Seahawks games. They just came up the Kingdom, like a few years before that, and again you give me like ice cream or whatever, but like
you couldn't wait for the ice cream to get there. Yeah.
But it was funny because one of the games that you took me to, which is one of my earliest memories of a Seahawks game, is the famous Monday Night Football Bo versus Boz game, and the Bo versus Boz game actually now it's like a famous game. But why did you take me to that game? What was I like? It was 1987, so I was like 11 or something like that. But
you were into the Boz,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, everyone was like, he was a crazy figure back then. It was like, it was nuts. The whole town was Boz. Yeah.
But really the funniest one was when I took you, and you may not still even remember, but I took you to Game 7 of the NBA Western Conference Finals.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Paul Westfall was there.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. All the great Sonic players.
What year was that?
Well, I think it was 78, 77,
Jesus.
78.
No way.
Yeah, because they...
Something like a baby, and you're taking
they
like a...
They lost to the Washington Bullets that year,
Whoa.
But it was one of those games that Paul Westfall was ruining this game by dropping in these 3-point shots, and but the funniest part was when the Sonics would do well, then the whole place, the lid would come off the building. It was, and you would cry. So I had to almost hold your ears so that you.
Is that why I have such bad hearing now?
I don't know. It's just that it shocked you so much that everybody was screaming like that.
Yeah, right.
Because you hadn't heard that before.
That's hilarious.
I told Mom later. I said it might have been a bad idea to take Josh to the.
Yeah, like a little kid,
I think you were 5.
Well, you also took me to the.
I don't know.
You said you also took me to the what was it, the All-Star game?
Yeah.
The 50th All-Star game for the for baseball.
Yeah, that was a barn burner. It was. Here I've got you at this game, and Harmon Killebrew was there, and all the old players.
Yeah.
And Reggie Jackson.
Crazy.
So
I got to see Reggie Jackson play.
Yeah, you did. You got to see Reggie hit a home run, and you know what the score was at the end of the game?
What was that?
1-0.
No way.
Yep. Reggie's home run in the 4th inning, and the rest of it 5 more innings. Dull.
Wow.
Definitely a pitcher's duel.
That's funny. The 50th also. I still have that ticket stub. I still have that ticket stub somewhere. But it's funny because I remember going right back to the Bo versus Boz game. I don't remember every detail of that game, but I do remember when Bo Jackson ran I think it was like 88 yards or something like that for a touchdown. And all I remember, because we were in the end zone, and all I remember is him breaking off away from the pack, and he's literally pulling away, but he's running towards us, and he just disappears underneath us. And we were like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Bo.
And it's Bo's like a nutty. God, he's still one of the greatest athletes ever to play football, and he would get over 1,000 yards and only play a certain amount of games because he was still playing baseball.
Right.
Nuts.
The other thing about that game was that at the other end of when they were on the other end, is when we watched him just flatten Bob.
Yeah, that's a famous thing. It's so bad. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Bo was just nuts.
Yeah.
And then, getting back to the kind of the music scene, I don't remember really much of anything. I learned stuff here and there, but for some reason, this is where I got it from you. Music sticks with me. And music isn't always like that with everybody, like Mom. Mom's she likes music, but she doesn't love
But it
music.
irritates her.
Yes, yeah. So, it's funny because it's constant, too, in my head. I associate, I'll hear people, say phrases or words or something like that, and I'm, immediately thinking of, songs in my head. It's like a sickness in my head.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, you know what the earliest song that I could really remember sticking in my head was that song Baker Street by Jerry Rafferty.
Sure.
And that sax, I can't remember the guy that did the sax solo or the part in that song. But it's funny because I
thought it was Jerry Rafferty.
yeah, it's Jerry Rafferty. But no, he didn't play the sax part. I don't think it was But I always remember that song, and I'm pretty sure I knew where I was.
Apparently, he's the guy that made Jerry Rafferty because that's what people think of.
Right?
When
Yeah.
they hear that.
I mean, he had a couple songs off that album that were big, but that was a monster hit. Going back to when you take me to these different events and stuff like that, I remember going to the Harlem Globetrotters. Mm-hmm. It was where is that? They call it.
I had to take you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was awesome.
I mean, I had to. I just thought everybody needs to see these guys.
Dude, those guys are amazing.
Yeah.
And who doesn't like the Globetrotters? Are you kidding me? The thing I remember about going to this is really weird, but I remember the Globetrotters because they would throw water on whatever and people and stuff.
Confetti.
Yeah. Right. And but on the way there, I remember hearing. It had to be around this time that 1980 or 81 or something, because I remember hearing on the way there, we heard Queen's Another One Bites the Dust. It's like that doo-doo-doo-doo.
Right.
And that was always stuck in my head. But I always associate that song with going to the Globetrotters. So it had to be around that time that we went to see the Globetrotters.
I have to tell the folks that we had if anybody remembers the old stand-up Kirby vacuum cleaners.
Yeah.
That you were 5 years old, and I had a little room I called my music room. It had my reel-to-reel and 4 speakers and, black lights and all the things you use for, smoking. So you would come in that room and you would put a yardstick in the vacuum cleaner as your microphone stand. And you had a little plastic guitar, and you would stand in front of that.
I think I've seen that picture. You guys actually took a picture of it.
Yeah.
And you remember what the guitar was? It was a fly swatter.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I know it's shaped like one. But,
yeah.
But you would play along with these guys.
That's awesome.
So the impact, and Mom always remembers that too. I said, he loves music just like his dad.
Yep. Definitely got that from you, because Mom, there's songs that she likes, but she's not like obsessed, So
don't bring up Mom. He's like.
So like I would say like around 83, I started becoming aware of music because of like, Huey Lewis in the News and like Michael Jackson, obviously, and MTV. So like MTV came out in 81, but we started getting cable like somewhere in the early 80s. And then obviously like harder stuff. I'd be at the babysitters, and like the older guy would come over. We'd listen to Van Halen, and I remember he put these headphones on me, and he goes, "You got to hear this." And it was the album Shout at the Devil. And I'm like, holy shit. It was, to this day, I can't listen to the song Shout at the Devil without the intro before it. It's criminal. They should only have that. They should just always just make that song just with the intro going into the song, because it builds up into the song. But anyway, but after that, so MTV started airing the Monkees on TV, and then I really got into music because I loved the Monkees.
Yeah.
And then the Monkees, the gradual progression of getting into music would be like, well, now you got to listen to the real Monkees, which is the Beatles.
Exactly.
So after the Beatles, that was it. I mean, I became a Beatle freak.
Like me with the Eagles. I just love the Eagles, so thought that was the best band
I was
ever
listening.
lived.
I was listening to this podcast. I think it was Bill Simmons and Dave Grohl. We're talking about how Bill Simmons was like, I was never like a really big Eagles fan. He goes, but I saw the documentary on the Eagles, and that thing was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
And he goes, they were like a punk band that would do like Easy Peaceful Feeling or whatever, and he goes, but they're like fighting like crazy. He goes, they were nuts.
Yeah, that thing's burned into my DVR. I've got that. I've kept that ever since I saw it.
That is a
the
great
first time.
documentary. Anybody out there wants to watch a great documentary, the Eagles documentary is fantastic.
It really is.
And it really goes through their entire career of like,
when they get to Hell Freezes Over, it really gets good. It's really something when they reunited.
Yeah, that's a great documentary, man.
Yeah.
And then some other interesting random facts about you. You mentioned before that you're very into pool, playing billiards, and you'd have all these pool hall trophies and stuff like that. But Mom used to say back in the day that she was never worried about you spending money at the bars. It was the drinking.
Yeah. When people buy, you pay for beer, and you get a table full of them.
And it was funny because I remember when you took me out for my birthday when I turned 21. You just took me to the grody, Auburn bars or whatever, and here we are playing pool. And I played pool with you before at Aunt Marge's house. She had that like side. What was that thing? What is it, like a mother-in-law like house or what? It was like a garage turned into like she fully turned it into a bar.
The pool table moved. It was like
Oh really?
That old. So.
It was awesome. That place looked cool. It was like technically my first experience in a bar. It was like Aunt Marge's. Like it was a bar. Yeah. Like she built a bar. But I just remember you were playing this guy in pool, and I'm like, wow, I could have sworn like I heard my dad was like really good at pool, and you're getting your ass kicked, and then all of a sudden you're like. You turn to me and you're like, all right, I think it's time. I think I've had about enough of this guy. And you just started like fucking like making these crazy shots. And it's not like you're just like making regular shots. You're like making like just double banked shots of these trick shots. And the guy's like, what the? And you could tell at that point, he's like, oh shit.
Hey, nothing from nothing's nothing. So if
you just
not
kicked the
playing,
shit out of him. It was hilarious.
You're not gonna get me all the way down unless you're playing for money.
It's so funny, man. I love that. But another random interesting fact is that you tried out for the Seattle Seahawks in 1979.
Yeah, I did.
When they had those open tryouts. You're kind of like what's his name? Marky Mark tries out for the Eagles, makes the team.
Yeah.
But I still, it's funny because I still have this photo of the letter. You're like, hey, look at this. the rejection letter.
I don't know where that is.
I have it.
You
I have
a
it.
copy? Well, that's
I do.
good. That's where it belongs.
Right. That's what Andy says too.
Yeah,
He's like, good thing you save shit because I never do.
Yeah.
But it's funny because you used to actually the Marines had they had a team,
right.
And like you used to punt on their team, right?
Yeah, we went undefeated the whole year, so it was a good team. We had guys from Indiana playing for us, running back from Indiana, Cal Wilson. We had a lot of good football players.
And it's funny too because like I remember, even later we'd go out and you'd go kick the ball around with me and my friends. And my friends are like, they'd never seen you punt or anything like that, and they're like, "Holy shit! Like he's a real like punter." And I'm like, "Yeah, like it's fucking crazy." So you said that you screwed up because you were like overly like nervous and punting before that you were punting so much before.
I didn't know how the system worked.
Right.
So I went in there. I was so jacked that I even had one of the coaches come around, and that's a big deal too. You get a coach, special teams coach, come all the way down 100 yards down the field to talk to you.
Right.
Something's up.
Yeah.
So he says, some little thing like if you dropped a foot farther out away from you, you would get more distance. Okay?
Right.
So then I'm kicking my brains out. I probably kicked 50, 60 balls. Well, nothing's going to ruin your leg faster than kicking 50 or 60 balls,
right.
So they blew a whistle. We all went and sat on the bleachers. And then they get out these clipboards and watches.
Right.
For hang time.
Yeah, right.
And I went, you mean we got to do this again?
Oh, shit.
And so they go, okay, come out there. So, I'm kicking balls that are like 20 yards high and, 30 yards down the field, because I got no leg left. It feels like a piece of Jell-O.
Yeah.
When I was just playing with the guy from Air Force Academy and we're kicking it from the end zone to the 50, so it was unbelievable. It was a big letdown for me because I knew that at that point I knew, oh, now look what you did, with your tryouts. So.
It's funny too because like I remember you used to talk about how you had actually had a tryout for the Seahawks and then I would always like see you punt, and I'm like, fuck, man, I wish I had like video of you like doing these punts because like it's hard to explain. Like you're like a legit punter, and it's funny because that's what my kind of like thing in my head is like, all right, well, I want to freeze frame me and all my friends playing football because like we weren't like spectacular or anything like that, but I mean some people were, but I always like to see people in their prime. And so I'm like, well, I need to get someone to film some of our stuff. And I have, a bunch of those videos too. But I wish there was like,
I wish I had a video camera when you were 5 too, but I don't. I didn't.
You have
we couldn't
audio.
afford it.
Yeah, you have audio.
I have audio.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford things like that. I mean, a VCR camera was like $1,000,
right,
and I had to get gas and.
Yeah.
So those years were kind of low. I got a couple from Christmas and things like that of you guys, but. It was, what happened finally was that there was a semi-pro team called the Sumner Pierce County Bengals, and their punter, he was a little erratic, but man, he had like a 6-second hang time. He was just an animal. He was a big guy.
Yeah.
They took him to camp.
Gotcha.
And I was all dejected. I'm walking out, and the coach for the Sumner Pierce County Bengals said, they just took our punter. Would you like to come down and be our punter?
Oh, that's funny.
And they were a team that, something about the Bengals. They never lost. They finally would end up going down to San Jose, California and playing those guys, and they were great. But they didn't lose. They were just like, the New Zealand rugby team, the Blacks. They were just kill everybody.
Wow.
And I thought it was a great opportunity, and I said, wow, maybe I could do that and I could work my way back. And I said, so when do you play your games? And they said, Saturday. I said, well, so you just get on a plane and fly down there? He goes, no, bus.
Oh, Jesus.
And I said, how much does it pay? And he said, nothing.
You pay.
No, the quarterback and the wide receivers, if they were good enough, they got paid.
Oh, really?
Some of the gate.
God.
But
that sounds like a hell of a deal.
Yeah, I said, it sounds like a great deal.
Yeah.
But I said, I got a wife, I got 2 teenage sons or even younger. And I said, I can't do it.
Yeah, no.
I just can't, you know.
Yeah.
I got a job. I got all this shit. So that's how that went.
Well, and another, it's still interesting. So now you also hosted radio shows for blues, oldies, and college rock in radio. And you once interviewed Toad the Wet Sprocket, right?
Yeah.
It was before they made it big.
Jeez,
too.
I really remember that. Yeah.
And then here's one of my favorite stories. You said, so Mother Love Bone was this band in Seattle, and they were, I don't know, like kind of like on the verge of breaking big, but the lead singer dies of like a overdose or something. And
Really?
And yeah, right, shocking. No, but he, so they're going to be playing this local show, and you got this. I remember you came home and you told me this, and you're like, yeah. So I had this caller. He calls up and he goes, so does that mean like is the show canceled? And I was like, he did not say that. You're like, oh, I swear to God, he said that. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I love that story. But I always thought it was funny too, because like you're like very open-minded about music, and I remember some of my earliest memories of walking back from school, and you'd always have the door open in the front and the back, and like blasting music. Like there'd be like my buddy who would be walking with me, he'd be like, we turn the corner, and we're one of the first houses on the right, and we're turning the corner, and my buddy's like, is that Two Life Crew? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's my dad. He's like, your dad is listening to rap? And I go, yeah, I mean, he like listens to like everything, like rap, country, blues, like everything. It was pretty funny.
You can't make an opinion.
But like my friends were like, dude, that's like pretty fucking cool, man. Like, you know, yeah, you're always like blasting, like even like metal and like anything.
Laugh about, you know, where I had my recording gear right through the front door, and the floor was weak, and you and Neil would come in.
Yeah, you're like, God damn it!
Now I gotta start over again because you guys skipped the record.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
the record. Yeah, it's great. No, but like, so some of the famous Lee Matlock quotes are football one. I watched a lot of football with you growing up. Remember, we used to have those. You used to have those helmets from like Dairy Queen. Those helmets, and you bought the whole set, and then you got a board to hang them on. So we'd always know who was in like first place or last place on the board for each division. It was great. But you had these helmets, and like every time like a team would start losing, you're like, all right, time to slide it a little bit over to the side. They're sliding, they're slipping, and I'd be like, okay, and then you're like, all right, well, that's the end of the game, and then you're like, time to flip it, and like you just flip off the
helmet.
Just take it and like take your hand and just whack it off. And it was funny. There's a lot of times that it was the Seahawks that were the helmet that was falling on the ground.
Many years.
Yeah. But one of your famous quotes was you'd be watching the game, and you'd be like, and the guy would drop a ball, and you'd be like, you call yourself a pro? You call yourself a pro? My buddies and I always laugh at that one. And then, of course, going along with the same one, it's like catch before run. Catch before run, you idiot. You know, so some great ones. Andy had one that he reminded me of. You have like come in with like, you know, sap or something on your hands. You're like, nothing little gasoline won't take off. Here you are like pouring gasoline on our hands. It's like seeping into our bodies.
Gasoline's a hell of a product. Yeah. Can do a lot of things.
And then there's like when that we'd be looking for something, and here it is. It's like right in front of us, and it'd be like, if it was a snake, it would have bit you. It's a great one of my favorites.
You know, right behind you, there's an album sitting there, and I was thinking, because you asked me about the first concert I went to.
Yeah.
And I was down, I don't know why I was even down to this place, but there was a place in Phoenix, and it was like a little monastery kind of a place, you know, and it had ivy all up in the walls and everything. And I was standing out there, and I was having a cigarette with a friend of mine. He might have been able to get in, and I couldn't, but he said, I want you to hear this band, you know, and I said, oh, okay. So they start playing, and I was like, oh my God, I've never heard anything like that before. Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool, man.
Before Young, right? And
so like we're talking like 69 or
yeah,
something.
It was like a what do you call them? The Experience.
Yeah, no. That first album too. I mean, I like their second album as well, with the one with Young. But that album, like I always tell people, I go, do that album is like it's near
I wore out
flawless.
so many of those
so
8 tracks.
He tracks.
I wore them out. But, if there was girls over, that went in. And, that and Moody Blues, Days of Future Past, were the go-to tapes,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Don't tell your mother.
So, yeah, I just want to go over a couple of things that were very meaningful to me as far as things that you've taught me over the some valuable life lessons that you taught me. One of them was, I'll never forget this one. This is the N-word.
Oh, yeah.
And I will never forget. It's like one of those things where you see the moment when the dad grabs his the shoulders and he looks right in the dead of his eye, just directly in his eye, so he can't not listen to you. And you pulled me aside and you go, look at me, and I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. Don't you ever say the N-word. And then of course you're like, especially to a black guy. Especially. I don't want you saying that word, but especially. And then of course you would always follow that unless you want to get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
Then go ahead. Go ahead. But I'm like, yeah, well, okay. I'm like, first off, I never really thought about saying that because that is kind of like one of those things. It's a learned thing. It's like, where did the little kid hear the N-word?
At the dinner table.
Yeah.
Mostly. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, because it wasn't one of my best friends was a little black kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Nathan, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Shit, I never thought anything of it. I'm like, he's like my friend.
It comes from the parents, really, I think. And it's like, if you don't try to put your foot in it and stop it, it's just going to keep going on and on and on. I come from a line of all my uncles and my father. They were all like Archie Bunker. It was amazing. It was just all the jokes.
Yeah. Right.
With the Polish and the Negro, and there was always somebody besides the white guy. But you really have to, it all starts at home, I believe. You can have some rowdy friends, but I think your parents are very responsible to stop that flow.
Of course, yeah, and of course, society is a lot different now even than when I was a kid.
Actually, personally, I think it shouldn't be used. Period. Not by blacks, whites, anybody.
Right.
It should be a word that's just struck from the...
Well, unfortunately that can't be done, but okay.
I know.
I hear what you mean, but yeah. There's another one that came a little bit later. This one was pretty funny. When my buddies and I started, going out, and you told a couple of us this next one, and you go, you're like, hey, if you ever see a ring on a woman's hand, don't do it. And we're looking at each other what? But it's funny because it's surprising. It's not surprising. It's shocking. How many women have hit on me that are married. And you'd always say, hey, here's a valuable tip for you. Don't ever sleep with a married woman. And then you're the best at this. You'd always follow it up with, unless you want to get shot dead in the middle of a parking lot, go ahead. And I'm like, what? Jesus Christ. We're just going to go have some beers, man. What the hell? And but it's funny too, because it makes sense, you don't fuck around with shit like that. And I remember so many times. There was this one time, this is crazy. There was this one time I remember, cause my buddy Ryan and Lee and stuff, we'd always talk about that. And there was this one time, this girl, she sits on me, she's kissing on my my cheek, and Ryan, he literally takes her hand and he puts it right in front of my face, right in front of my face, and it's her hand, and I'm like, oh shit, she had a ring on, and I'm like, all right, get off me, and I'm like, dude, we're right next to a this is one of the Afghan war, 2005-ish, something like that or whatever, and it's we're right next to a big military base, and I'm like, dude, I don't want any part of this shit, man.
Puget Sound Debs.
Yeah, screw that, man. That's it's crazy. All right, well, hey, in closing, I just want to say it's awesome having you on the show. I hope you had fun doing some reminiscing and telling some of these old stories.
It's nice to be on the mic again.
Yeah, right? So yeah, I just want to say that you've really made an important impact in my life. I want to thank you for your service to this country, and always for being there for Andy and I when we need you. And happy Father's Day to you. I love you, and have a safe trip back. And we'll talk to you soon.
Your mom's responsible for all that.
All right, thanks, Dad. Have a good one. Thank you for tuning in to the Josh and Friends podcast. If you have any questions or comments about today's show, feel free to leave a message in the comment section below. If you enjoy listening to the podcast, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow the show. And check out some of the video clips posted on YouTube and Facebook. I'm Josh, and thank you for being a friend.